Hi guys, it's Michelle from Cozyegg, and this is episode 49, I think. Today is Monday, February 12th, 2018. So if you are a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back and subscribing and all that good stuff. If this is your first time, thanks for giving me a look. So let's get started. So obviously Valentine's Day is upon us. I did finally put away the remainder of the Christmas decorations. And I kind of, I sort of transitioned from Christmas and then I put most of them away. I left up some winter things. Those finally went away, and then I decided last weekend, I should decorate for Valentine's Day. I haven't decorated for Valentine's Day in like 10 years, but whatever. I decided over the weekend that that needed to happen. So I thought I would share my little heart tree. So I'm gonna pick this up. It's a little heavy because it's got a metal base, but this is my little heart tree. I bought this tree, I don't know where from, like a million years ago. And it has these really sweet little green acrylic leaves on it. So it's perfect kind of for spring, even though it's 30 degrees out. And then I made all of these little heart ornaments. So I went to my local quilt shop and I just bought a whole bunch of different red fabrics, and I made all of these little hearts and put some of them are white with red. I love the red check. There's some of them are toile, which I just love. Red with little stars. So anyway, these just make me super happy. So I love to get this tree out and, have my little hearts out. However, we have had some casualties, which resulted in me yelling, "This is why we can't have nice things." But I now think that Tet has taken it upon himself as a challenge. So he will take these off of the tree and bring them to me. Yeah, loving that. So anyway, this is sitting in my dining room, which is where I'm recording. And I put my Valentine's Day quilt out, which you cannot see, but I am going to post a photo of it. But it's, yeah, I have stuff all over the table. I'm not even gonna attempt that. But I'll post a photo of it so you can see it. But that's on the table, and then I have my heart tree sitting in the center. And I decided to leave up our wedding quilt because it's red and white, and I thought that that would be kind of pretty. So, but yeah, I'm gonna have to fix some of these that have lost their little loops now. So anyway, so I just thought that was fun. And I used this same tree for Easter. I have some little egg ornaments that I hang from this for Easter. Of course, those are really attractive as well. I thought maybe we were growing out of it, but no. So the Easter situation may not happen this year. We'll see. But while I'm on kind of a Valentine's Day topic, I got out some of my other Valentine's Day stitching pieces that I thought that I would show you, in case you're interested. So, I have a lot of stuff that I stitched like a million years ago that I obviously have shown on my blog since I've been blogging for 12 years, but For any of you that are new to me, and you know, haven't gone back and looked at old blog posts or whatever, you know, don't have a billion hours of time on your hands, you may not have seen these. So I thought it would just be fun to kind of show you some of these. So the first one is, and I'm going to kind of scoot this out of my way a little bit so that it's not all up in my business. Okay, so the first thing is, this is my little sheep. So this was a series that was done by Homespun Elegance, and this was called Woolly Time. And they spelled woolly and time weird, but anyway, it's like T-Y-M-E. So it was a series of little charts, and the first month you got your sheep, which came unstuffed, and then you just had to stuff in with fiberfill and then, you know, sew up the bottom. This would be super easy to make yourself though. And then you got the fabric and the pattern for each of the little blankets for your sheep. And so this was the February one. So let me show that to you a little closer. And each one of them had a little charm on them. So this one obviously has that little heart charm right here. And they're super cute little, you know, quick stitch designs. And so I have my little sheep out on my bookshelf where I keep some of my smalls, and I, when I remember, change out his little blanket every month. So of course, when I looked at him the other day, he still had December up. So obviously I'm not that good about doing that. So anyway, and the way that you finish these blankets, so you would stitch on your piece, and then basically what you would do is you would fold in the edges, just fold them over, and then glue felt, or I just used quilt batting, onto the back so that it's, you know, one solid piece. And then you would take and just fray your edges. And so basically you're just pulling out all the horizontal threads for about, you know, ½ inch, an inch, to fray those little edges. It's essentially the same way you make a bookmark. So, but I love these little blankets even now. I think I stitched these in 2006. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody else stitch these, except there's someone on Instagram, it's a needle workshop. And I can't think of the name of it. It's like old colonial, some old needle, I don't know. Anyway, and in one of their photos, they had this little sheep, and I'm like, oh my God, nobody else has ever, I've never seen that ever before. So blast from the past. So anyway, there's my little sheep. And then this is a little piece that my friend Kim stitched for me for my birthday several years ago. It's dated 2011. This is a Blackbird Designs piece. I think it's called Wild Lily. And she did change the colors and filled it with crushed walnut shells. It's got this pretty pink with brown vine fabric on it. And then she put this little crocheted trim on it. So cute. She put my initial. I love this piece so much. I really do. So, yeah, so Blackbird Designs. And then I have a few little older pieces. This is a little Biscornu. So I did a Biscornu exchange a million years ago, and this is the one that I got from my partner. And it's stitched with this beautiful deep red thread on an opalescent, so you can see that little bit of sparkle on the fabric. And it was beautifully finished. And for the life of me, I cannot tell you the name of the person that stitched this for me, but I am sure that it is well documented in my blog. But I just love this little thing. I think it's the only biscornu that I have. I think I've only made one biscornu, which is the one that I made for this exchange. I used what at the time was a freebie, a chatelaine freebie called Manuela's Sunflowers, named for her daughter. And, you know, that was a square design, had a pretty sunflower on it. I stitched that and made it into a biscornu, but with the red and the opalescent fabric, I just thought that was pretty kind of for Valentine's Day. This is a Just Nan piece. And she did, I used to be so like seriously into Just Nan. She used to do these little pieces called whimsies, and it would come as a kit. A lot of these were limited edition through the Silver Needle. And they would come as a kit. I was on automatic for these until basically she quit doing the whimsies. And you would get the fabric, all of the little beads, any crystals or charms that went on it, the frame, and then of course then the chart. And most of these are charted for DMC. But even in this little thing, it probably had like 42 colors of DMC. So there's the whole thing. You can see the little beads on there. And it's got the sweet little cherub with the bird. I think that's blurry. Nope, that's probably good. And it's on a pretty blue fabric. So, I have a ton of these too. I have some seasonal ones. I have some, you know, different holiday ones. And when I remember, I switch these out too. I think that I still had, no, I think I had a winter one in here that was up on my wall anyway. So Just Nan. And then these little pieces, so there is a great shop in California called Elegant Stitch. And I used to order from Lois at Elegant Stitch like all the time. I used to be on automatic for all of the Blackbird loose feathers from her. I think I was on automatic for like all the Prairie Schoolers from her. Seriously, back in the day when money was falling from the sky, apparently. Anyway, what got me to start ordering from her is I saw this piece on someone's blog. It's a little mermaid that says "in the pink," stitched over one. And it's finished with this ruched silk ribbon and then these little pearls kind of nestled in there. And I saw this on somebody's blog and absolutely fell in love with it. And so I sent her an email and was like, what do I have to do to get my hands on one of these? And so these are, they were little monthly kits that she did called Essie's Friends. And every month was a different designer. They were all done on this pink fabric, and I believe that the proceeds from them, or at least a portion of them, went to breast cancer research. So this one had just come out. You know, I saw it. Like I said, I pleaded with her, and she did actually kit one up for me, even though it was kind of well past the month of ordering. And you know, I had never done this kind of finishing before. I don't know that I had ever really stitched over one. Yeah, I guess I had stitched over one before because I did that little bright needle piece. I don't even know who this is by. this may be bright needle. I don't remember. But anyway, so I was on automatic for these Essie's Friends pieces for like forever, until I finally decided I don't know how many more of these little pink things I need. Especially because I wasn't doing them. Like at first I was doing them and then I quit doing them. And at that point it was like, okay, I probably don't need to invest in these anymore, but it's a sweet little piece. But because they're pink, I just always seem to get them out at Valentine's Day because they just seem to kind of go with it. And I've got 2 others that I have finished. And then I have like a bajillion more that are still in the packaging that I keep thinking I will get out and finish one year. So this one is by Shepherd's Bush, which you can probably tell just by looking at it. And it says Hope and Love, which of course, because it's Shepherd's Bush, is hard to read. And it was finished in this little Twisted Threads tin pin, so it has a little pin on the back of it. And it's got that little B button. So I'm trying my light a little bit differently. I typically turn the light away from me so that it bounces off the wall, so that it's not quite as harsh, but I noticed in my last few videos that it's still dark, so I've got it turned towards me. Today we'll see what difference that makes. I really need to like get into Eric's stash and get some umbrellas out, but I'm lazy. And I'm also afraid to get in there. So, and then I have this other one, which is called Hallie's Heart. And I have no recollection who this is by. This might be Work Basket. And these came, like I said, with the threads and the fabric and the finishing stuff and the little pattern. It's a really cute idea. So Hallie's Heart, and then that had that little flower button on it. And then this is also in one of those Twisted Threads tin frames. So, oh, and then there's one more. This is a piece that I stitched for Eric for Valentine's Day one year. And I'm trying to think who the designer is. Like I can picture the chart in my head, but I couldn't tell you who it is. But it was one of those charts that it had a larger chart, and then on the back it had, you know, kind of like Prairie Schooler does, where they give you the large chart and then they give you a little piece of that chart, you know, that you could stitch by itself kind of thing, that was slightly different. This was the same kind of thing. So I stitched this piece, which is all over one, and it's a little hard to read, but it says For You, and it's got some little eyelets on it. And it's just a cute little piece. And it actually called for a tin frame, kind of like those little pins, but a larger one, which I couldn't find anywhere. And so I actually called Silver Needle and talked to them. They were happy for my business, let me tell you. All those just names. Anyway, I called Silver Needle and I explained what I was doing, and so she described this little tin frame to me that had a little heart on it, and I was like, that's perfect. And so she sent this to me. It has a little hanger on the back so it can hang. So yeah, I stitched this like forever ago. And I keep thinking I'll go back and stitch the bigger piece, but not sure when that's gonna happen. So anyway, a little bit of Valentine's Day for you. And of course I've got on my pinky purple sweatshirt because it's freezing. Whatever. Okay, so what have I been working on? Last time I was kind of right at the end of a rotation, and it was Friday night, and I was getting ready to kind of sit down with my Friday off the grid party and stitch something, but I was not feeling any of my projects. So I think I showed you 2 pieces that I had pulled out that I was kind of interested in stitching on. One of those was Frances Eden, and the other one was Victorian Delacroix. And I actually decided to go with Victorian. After looking at them both, I just decided, yeah, that's what I want to do. So I worked on Victorian, and so just a reminder, here's what the piece looks like. It is gorgeous. It's by the Exemplaire. And most of her pieces she does do as kits with the linen and the silks. Or I think you can do DMC. But typically she does not offer charts. It's all kits. Which is, you know, that it is what it is. I don't particularly love kits, mostly because they're expensive, but this was a good kit because it's good linen and it's a Verswa silk. So anyway, so there's the piece. And so I pulled this out, and I had, you know, this done and this little flower basket done. And so this motif is what I did. And I basically worked on that 2 or 3 nights and did the little over 1 letters, the little over 1 heart there in the middle. I just love the colors. And I can't wait until I get into some of those navies and those bright turquoises. But I'm completely in love with this pistachio color in the top, and then that kind of avocado color in the piece that I did, in the motif that I did. So that's what I got done in a couple of nights, and at that point I was like, okay, I feel like I'm kind of ready to go back to something. So I think I ended up going back to His Eyes on the Sparrow. And I worked on that deer some more, so like that deer was just giving me fits, but so it's in timeout right now. But anyway, so I worked on that for a few nights, and then the next week I went to Anniversaries of the Heart. And so I worked on Anniversaries of the Heart last week. Now keep in mind that the last time that I worked on this was during Stitch Mania, when I was touching all of my Year of Whips pieces. And you may recall that the block that I was working on, the threads, the called for threads were just blending into my fabric, and they were so hard to see, and I was so frustrated with it. I kind of lost steam on this piece after the coffee incident, and then I kind of picked back up a little bit, and then I got to this block and it just, yeah, I hit those threads that just weren't working, and then that was kind of the end of that. So while I was working on Victorian, I did go and pull, I took all of the called for threads, and I basically went to my overdyes and tried to pull something that was a similar color, but just like a shade darker or 2 shades darker. Because, you know, I didn't want to change the whole look of the block. I just wanted it to be, I wanted you to be able to actually see the stitching. So last Friday night, for Friday Off the Grid, I started ripping out, and I had to rip out all of the blue stitching, all of the green vine stitching, and then I basically got those almost totally restitched. So let me show you the block. And I did manage to finish this on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. Yeah, no, it was Friday. I finished it. That was the first thing I did because I wanted to finish it before I switched. So this is the block that I worked on. And so basically this blue, and there's a couple little motifs here that are also blue. All that blue had to be replaced. This vine for these flowers, that all had to be replaced. And this little vine here, stem plant thing, had to be replaced. I was initially going to rip out this peach color around the flowers, but once I got the blue and the green replaced, that peach looked fine. So I decided to leave it. I did make a couple of changes on this block other than colors. The center of these flowers, the way that it's charted was to leave like 2 or 3 little stitches in the middle empty. Like not all together, but like just random. And the color was so light, I thought that's just gonna look like I missed my stitches. Like it's not gonna look like it was done on purpose. So I just filled them all in. It also called for 2 different colors of centers for the flowers, but the second color that it called for was almost identical to that peach color. So I just did them all the same. And what else did I change? Up here, because her name was so long, I did have to leave. There was another bird up at the top. I had to leave him out. But otherwise, and all of, you can see all those eyelets down at the bottom, and half of the, I'm trying to get back so it'll focus, half of the border on this side, the left side, I guess, is all eyelets. So I'm happy with how it turned out now that you can see all of the threads. But man, that was a pain in the ass. And more than being a pain in the ass, it was frustrating to me. It's always frustrating to me when threads don't turn out the color that they are supposed to be, and they don't look anything at all like the model because of dye lots. I get that they're over-dyed threads, but there should be some sort of quality control. That's all I'm saying. They shouldn't vary that widely. Anyway, so here's the whole piece. So that's it. So I have January, February, bonus block, March, April, May, June, July, and that was August that I finished. So I have September, October, November, December, and then down at the bottom is a double block that's kind of like the personalization for the whole piece. So that's it. That's my whole piece. And I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with how it's turning out. I'm happy that block is behind me. the next block, I have two favorite blocks on this whole piece. One of them is this one in the center with the swans. I love that block so much. And then the other one is the block that I'm about to do, which I will show you what that looks like. And I started to pull the threads for it, and there are several I don't have. So this one is called Moonlight Visitor. And it's just got these pretty purples and these dark greens. And I just think it's going to be a really fun block to stitch. I love that tree and that butterfly. So that's the next one. I have been trying to, you know, when I do my personalization, I've been trying to put, you know, pair up blocks with people whose anniversary or birthday or whatever matches up with that month. So for the most part, that's what I've been doing with these two blocks, August and September. I kind of flip-flop them. So my grandmother's birthday is actually in August, like mine, and my niece's birthday is in September. But this block just screams my grandmother. So I knew that this block had to be hers. So I just flip-flopped her and my niece. And even though this is September's block, it'll be for my grandma. So, and that's a list of all of the threads that I have to buy. And most of these call for crescent color threads or classic color works or whatever we're calling it today. I'm not a huge fan of those threads for reasons I just discussed. I may think twice about going and purchasing some more of them. Okay, so that's what I worked on last week, and I finished. I had everything done except down at the bottom where it had that little urn that had the over one stuff fill in. I just had to do the over one background. And so I got that done last Friday night, and then I was able to switch to my next project for Off the Grid Party. So my next project is, since tomorrow is Dark 13 stitching, I wanted to get out my Halloween piece to stitch on. And so as you may recall, my Halloween neighborhood is part of my Whipocalypse. And so I finished up, last time I worked on it, I finished up the cemetery block from Village of Hawkrun Hollow that I was doing, that was kind of down in the bottom with all that fill in. I finally finished that piece, that block. And so it was time to figure out what I was going to stitch next. So I think in a few videos ago, I showed you that I have been in the process of kind of charting this whole thing out, mostly just to show, so that I can get a feel for placement and where everything is and what I have room for, because I want the whole thing to be really full and filled in, like those fabulous pieces that you see the French ladies stitch on, that everybody's like, you always see these posts, right? Somebody posts something that's this fabulous piece and it's cobbled all together from all these different things, and somebody posts in Stitch Mania or Sampler World and says, does anyone know where I can get this chart? And 99.9% of the time, it is some fabulous French stitcher that has stitched this thing, because that's just the way they think. So I want this to be totally full to the max, Halloweened out, neighborhood busy. And so I'm trying to figure out what I have room for, where I can put things. I've shown you my stack of patterns that I am working from, where I pulled stuff that I wanted to, you know, make sure that, or try to make sure that I have room for. So I had started that process. I have not gotten that far in that process, but I did start it. And so the one thing that I had gone ahead and charted in is from this piece. So, and I just have Xerox copies of these things because I was picking parts of things. But so this is a piece called Trick or Treat. It's by Praiseworthy Stitches. And it was in, and I'm sure it looks way better in color. I don't even remember what the colors were, but this was in Halloween, Just Cross Stitch Halloween 2012. But what I like about this is that big old tree and the lamppost. So I charted in that big old tree in my neighborhood, and then last Friday I went through and I pulled the threads for this. I pulled the ones that I had, and then for the other ones, you know, since it's only going to be part of a larger piece, I didn't feel too bad about swapping out. So I swapped out some colors that I thought would work really well. But I just loved that big tree with the autumn leaves on it and the black cat in the branch and the spooky thing in the hollow of the tree, and then that lamppost. I just loved all of that. So I got started on my tree. And so this is up at the top right-hand corner, and my cemetery is down in the bottom right-hand corner. So that's where I've been working. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner is my primitive needle by the light of the moon that I stitched where she's collecting mushrooms. Remember, we had that whole conversation anyway. But remember when? Okay, so I started stitching my tree. I'm super happy with how it looks so far. Yeah, I'm really, and part of what I love about this, and there you can kind of see some of the variegation in that thread. Part of what I'm loving about this is I'm just really liking, I love getting to put something new in my neighborhood. I just think that's super exciting. And that's part of why I haven't gotten really far with my charting, because I'm charting what's there, which isn't super exciting. I would much rather chart new stuff. So the colors that I pulled for this, I actually pulled a choice of 2 things to use for my tree. And what I ended up going with is this thread, which is one of those limited edition Gentle Arts threads that came in the Jenny Bean Halloween kit thread pack, called Swamp Water. And so it's got kind of a, you know, a greeny color and a brown, and then it gets kind of grayish, which I thought would be perfect for a tree. And I thought this is a perfect opportunity to use some of these limited edition threads that I never use. So my other choice was this Witch's Wort, which is way more green. So I opted to go with the one that was a little more brown, the Swamp Water. And then for the leaves, I've got Fragrant Cloves. I'm trying not to get the reflection. Fragrant Cloves, Weeks, nope, Gentle Arts. Autumn Leaves, which is really pretty. I have a teeny tiny bit, this came out of a ornament kit, of Harvest Moon, which I thought was really pretty. It's kind of a yellowish, orangey color, which I thought would be pretty for my leaves. And then this is another one of those limited edition colors. This is called Dried Blood, and it's a deep, you know, kind of rusty red. So I thought that would be perfect for some autumn leaves. The eyes of the thing inside the tree are going to be this bright red Louisiana hot sauce, because, you know, it needs to be. And then the eyes of the cat are going to be this bright green grasshopper, which is the thread that I ordered for and then opted not to use on my coffee Quaker. And then the cat, of course, will be mascara. And then the lamppost, I am going to do the lamppost down at the bottom, is going to be mascara. And then I forgot to pull the thread for the inside, for the light inside of it. But I have this perfect thread that I think I'm going to use. That's kind of a beautiful yellow color called Lunar Eclipse. So those are the threads I'm using for this. And I think once I get past all of these branches up at the top, this is going to go pretty quick. So I worked on this Friday night, well, half of Friday night, because half of it was on Anniversaries of the Heart, finishing that up Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday night. So, but perfect thing to work on for tomorrow night's Dark 13 stitching. So if you're new, every month on the 13th of the month, Emily C. Eclectic Possessions and I started Dark 13 stitching, where you can stitch on all of your creepy, spooky, macabre, dark pieces, as well as Dark October stitching, where you can do it the whole month. So, Dark 13 stitching tomorrow. Started early. And I'm really hoping that I can finish the tree and all the stuff in the tree, like basically finish this section this week. I think I can do it. We'll see. I've got 2 nights this week that I have to work. So we'll see how that goes. So that's what I've been stitching on. And then I have one, and this is in my Lady Jeanette bag. Lady Jeanette. This is one of those panels that I picked up in Paris and made myself a little zipper bag. So I'm going to work on that more tonight. I'm not feeling nearly as scattered as I was. And I will tell you about some of that's going on here in a minute. But the other thing I wanted to share with you is some finishing that I did. I have a whole bowl full of finishes. So this beautiful bowl came from Hawaii. I was there many years ago and bought this beautiful bowl. So I have had a ton of these little pieces set aside that I wanted to make into essentially bowl fillers, to do some little seasonal displays. And I finally got around to actually finishing them. One of them I cannot show you because it is a gift, and I keep missing the person that it is intended for, so until I can actually gift that, I can't show it to you. So the first piece that I finished, though, this was one of my Dark October starts and finishes 2 Octobers ago. So the first year that we did Dark October. And this is a piece by Stacey Nash called Cast Your Spells. This was it was a kit piece for their Stacey Nash Club through Country Sampler in Spring Green. I believe that she has now released this, so it's more readily available, I think. I don't know. I think. Anyway, I love this piece so much. I had so much fun stitching on it. I love the little border. And so this, I had had this sitting around for forever. I mean, literally years. So Dark October seemed the perfect time to get it out and stitch on it. So it came with the linen and the threads. I think they were all DMC. It came with the backing fabric, this great ticking stripe. It came with this felt piece. And so they had it finished into, I think they finished it into like a little needle book or something. I don't remember. And so I knew I wanted mine. Well, I decided that I wanted mine to, I thought it would just be cute as a little bowl filler. So I sewed that, the heart on, and then I just did some little primitive decorative stitches around it. Filled it up with crushed walnut shells. And I love it. I'm so happy with it. And then this piece I stitched forever ago. I think this is called Glory House by Chessie and Me. And she did a bunch of, like a whole series of these, kind of this size of things. I think I have 2 more of them that I have not yet stitched. But this one, a friend of mine, after she stitched it, passed on her pattern to me and her leftover threads because there was enough to stitch it again, basically. And I've had this thing stitched for forever, and so I finally just finished it, and I just put this pretty blue fabric on the back and filled it up with crushed walnut shells. So maybe I will have some more Americana pieces in time for 4th of July. And then I had stitched, this is from Paulette's 12 Days of Christmas. That was a freebie that she did a couple years ago. This is first day. And I decided that I wanted to stitch all of these as separate pieces. I wanted to put all of the same backing material on them, but stitch them just on little scrap pieces of linen, whatever I had. So, you know, if some of them were larger, some of them were smaller, some of them were on, you know, my, my handy dandy meadow rue, whatever. And so the threads that I used for this, I believe that these were both Gloriana's. And I just love how that turned out. So this is my one and only that I have stitched. I need to stitch day 2. And then the rest. And the other thing, speaking of Meadow Rue, the other thing that I think I mentioned previously is, so obviously this is my round robin piece. And the other one, obviously I couldn't do anything with at that point. So I did want to save some of the blocks that had been stitched, and so I just turned them into little bowl fillers, and I thought that that would be a nice way to kind of enjoy them. So this one is, this is actually on my current piece as well. It's a little drawn thread piece. Look at that little witch. So cute. And those little bats. So I found this fantastic bright green with stars. I love stars. If you can't tell, the star fabric, and filled this with crushed walnut shells. And so now I have that little piece. And then this one, which I think is a Blue Ribbon Designs house. It's like hacky sack in here. And this one, I found these purple swirls that I thought was cute. So put that on there. And then I do have that cemetery block that I had stitched on my piece, you know, and then of course I had to restitch it on this piece. That one I completely forgot, so it will also get turned into a pillow or a bowl filler deal at some point, probably in the next batch. Because I had it in my bag because I was using it as a little bit of a guide as I was stitching that cemetery, because I had made some changes to it from the way it's charted. So I forgot that I had it in there, and I found it when I pulled that out to work on, and then I was like, oh damn, forgot this one. So I need to stitch that one, finish that one too. Maybe I'll put the stars on the back of it too. So that's it for my finishes. And then I just had a couple more things I wanted to share. So one of them is I had passed along a chart to a fellow stitcher, and in return she stitched me this sweet stitched me, she knit me this sweet Christmas pudding. I'm so in love with it. I mean, I kept seeing them on her Instagram, and this is Stitching Queen. I just kept seeing them on there, and I was like, yeah, I want one of those. They're darling. Absolutely darling. So thank you, Jenny. I love it. I love it. And she sent a sweet little card as well. And I want to thank Amy from Amityville, who on Instagram the other day put a post about her Flosstuber of the week, and she chose me, and had some very, very sweet things to say about my stitching and my videos and everything. And I've had several new people come and follow me and leave me some comments. So thank you so much, Amy, for that. I really appreciate it. And hi to all the new people. I'm glad you're here. So thanks, Amy. That means a lot to me. So, I did finish reading A Court of Wings and Ruin. I think I told you that last time. I currently have 3 books that I have started, and I am reading none of them. So I have no books to report. I keep hoping that they'll get exciting and I will pick them up, and I think my brain's just not in the space to read right this minute. So anyway, last week I came home from Guild, and Eric had left me a little present on my desk. He bought me the new Lana Del Rey CD, Lust for Life, which I have been listening to nonstop. Love it, love it. And yes, we are CD people. Eric cannot get behind the downloaded music. He just can't do it. So anyway, so I have a CD, happy. And the reason that he purchased this for me, or the impetus, I should say, is because we were given the opportunity to go and see Lana Del Rey in concert on Thursday night last week. My company has a suite at the American Airlines Center, and when they don't have, you know, clients or teams or whatever using those seats, they offer them up to, you know, kind of first come, first serve basis. And so this was the first time that I had ever, you know, tried to put my name in the ring for something. Typically they've all been sporting events, but as soon as I saw that they had these available, I was like, and so got 2 tickets for us to go. And not only did we get to go to the concert, which was super awesome, but we got to go and sit in the suite. It was fully catered. The food was fantastic. In fact, I was like kind of miserable the next day because I ate so much food while we were there because it was really good. But it was a great show. So much fun. I highly recommend seeing her. I highly recommend her music. I just love it. Somebody asked me the other day what kind of music it is, and I don't even know that I could describe it. I put her in the same kind of category as Tori Amos, PJ Harvey, you know, kind of, those are the people that I kind of associate her with. But anyway, so good. So good. So that was an awesome little perk. And having done that now, I can honestly say that is the only way to go see a concert because, yeah, great seats, great food, and there were only 12 of us. Actually, there weren't even 12 of us. I think there were 8 of us because somebody didn't show. Let's see if they get tickets again. So anyway, it was a small group of us, so it was absolutely fantastic. It was exactly what I needed. I needed to get out and do something fun and just relax and get away from stuff for a little while. And that's exactly what this did. So yay, Lust for Life, check it out. And I think maybe that's it. So, yeah, I'm at 58 minutes, so sounds about right. I must be done talking. So, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and subscribing and leaving me comments. I so appreciate it. I do really try to answer questions, and I try to respond to people's comments when I get the chance. I'm not always prompt about that, but I do read all of them. And I try to at least let you know that I've read it by giving you a little, you know, heart or something. But I so appreciate the shout outs. I so appreciate the subscribes and the follows and the likes and the comments and all of that. Thank you so much. And yeah, I hope you guys have a happy Valentine's Day, and that you take care of the love of your life, yourself. So, all right, guys, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you then. Show notes can be found on my blog at cozyegg.cozyeggdesigns.com. There is a link to that right down below. You can also find me on all of the places as Cozyegg, Instagram, Twitter, blah, 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 all of those things. If you are interested in information about essential oils and chemical-free living and all of that good stuff, you can also go to cozylife.cozyeggdesigns.com, and you can see blog posts and all that good kind of stuff there. I also have a YouTube channel for my Cozy Life essential oils stuff, so if you're interested in that, look me up. And I do also have a Cozy Life Facebook page if you're interested. So I think now I'm done. All right. Thanks, guys. Happy Valentine's Day.